Hello and welcome to the Crab Jail. I'm Thea, and today we'll be continuing our deep dive of the last Dregs questline, the Omicron Tribal Quests. This part is going to be longer than the previous two because I'll actually be covering two factions, the Nibiruns, like I said I was going to in the last video, as well as the faction that gives us a new section in Elysion. So first, let's go over the Nibiruns. The second rank-up quest introduces you to the Nibiruns, the inhabitants of the final star that Median shows you. They come up and literally cause the bartenders who have an existential crisis and shut down. N7000 repairs the unit and kinda sends the Nibiruns off for a bit. However, the Nibiruns are not the next addition to the cafe's patrons, but since they were included in the Dead Ends dungeon and the previous factions I covered, I figured I'd do them now. As I just mentioned, the Nibirun star is the last one that Median shows you in the Dead Ends dungeon. The people of the star had created the perfect life. There was no war, no sickness, only peace. But they found that once they had discovered everything, there was nothing left in the world for them. And just like the previous two sections of the dungeon, there are interactable items you can use to learn more about their civilization. These are called long-forgotten essences. The first essence reads, "A curious traveler visited our star, a bird which proffered these questions. What meaning does life hold? For what do you strive? I could find no satisfactory answer, only bittersweet memories of an age long past. There was a time when we were lesser, and in our nescience sought purpose, struggled to justify life's worth. That was, of course, before we achieved perfection. Now, condemned to our paradise, we understand the fatuity of existence. Like the fledglings we once were, the poor bird could not accept the truth. It asked us again and again, hoping perhaps our answer might change." This essence is a Nibirun recounting their memory of Median's encounter. It shows that they were like other stars and they had goals and dreams. But eventually they had created a utopia where there was nothing left to strive for, and thus life had lost its meaning. And poor Median didn't want to accept that answer, so she kept asking over and over, hoping to get a more hopeful answer. And however, as we know, she did not get one. The second essence reads, "There was a time when we yearned to explore the heavens, found purpose in the hope of unveiling life's mysteries. A dream shattered when we reached enlightenment and found it empty. There was a time when we believed in our legacy, thought ourselves marking a worthy path our successors might follow. Efforts rendered futile when we discovered the keys to paradise and immortality. As individuals, we struggled to know what was right, and yet in today's perfect unity, there is not left to question. We are infinity constricted by the finite, but no more. Ra law shall grant us the mercy of annihilation." In this essence, the Nibiruns tell of how their efforts became their downfall. They searched for knowledge of the universe, but there was nothing left to learn. Then they thought about building life for future generations, but that became useless once they found immortality and made their utopia. Finally, they mention how each person has the inner journey of discovering right and wrong, but the perfect civilization they created was too perfect, and that struggle became meaningless. The only thing they had left to strive for was death, but because they had achieved immortality, they had to create Rala to grant it to them. The Nibiruns had done what pretty much all civilizations strive for, a perfect world. However, without any sort of suffering, there was no longer any joy. And because they had found immortality, they were doomed to an existence of emptiness that they had created themselves. So they created a being that could deliver the only thing that they wished for, the end of their existence. Also, as a side note, despite the fact that I've run this dungeon many times, I did not notice that the environment changes after you defeat Rala. It wasn't until I was going in through Explorer mode, and if you don't know, Explorer mode just gives the dungeon without any enemies, And because there's no enemies, there's no Rala, so it triggers the end state of that section. So I was very confused, saying, why the hell is it so gray? This isn't right. So I had to go in through the trust so I can get the right screenshots. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting and wanted to point that out. Everyone else has probably noticed this before, but I'm just stupid. Going back to the last Dregs, as I said before, the Nibiruns aren't the next patrons of the cafe. So they're just kind of standing there menacingly. So I'll go into who actually are the next patrons of the cafe. The Ea. The section about the Ea and the rest of the factions included in the questline are not going to be as in-depth as the last three because we actually learn about them through the MSQ. And I wanted to focus more on the ones we hadn't learned much about. I'll be giving them a brief overview of them and how that relates to the last Dregs story. The Ea are one of the 3 denizens of Ultima Thule that we meet during the MSQ. Jammingway would like to have them as patrons because they might be an asset in getting the Nibiruns on our side, since they are nihilistic like the Nibiruns, but a lot less menacing. For a brief overview of the Ea, they are like the Nibiruns in that they had basically solved all their problems. They became immortal and no longer needed physical bodies. They also learned all that there was to learn, and through that they found that eventually all existence would end due to the heat death of the universe. And learning of this is the catalyst of Median's transformation into the Endsinger. In regards to the tribal quest, the Ea are not really inclined to visit the cafe. They have no organs, so why would they need to go? Jammingway asked the Ea some questions, and they in turn ask us some about eating, and it's very silly. It's very silly. And you find that it's been a very long time since they required food, so they no longer remember what eating was like. And I guess not knowing how to eat food is just a common thing in Endwalker now, I guess. Shout out to my wife, Zero. The Ea become curious to find a way to experience eating again somehow. And for some reason, you're offered to be the guinea pig. I don't know why. You have no say in this. So after you get the ingredients for Jammingway to make food, you are to eat the food, and then N7000 relays the gustatory data to the Ea. They're excited by the result and wonder what else their former selves might have enjoyed. This creates a reaction in the Dynamis, and a new section of Elysion is created. However, something else is also created. A new life form not found in any of the Omicron databases are there. The Ea believe that these creatures are what they think they were like before they gave up their physical forms, and they were created to help them rediscover the sensations they once lost. Jammingway tells them that they should name the creatures, and the Ea were basically like, Miw Miisv. What does that mean? I don't know, but it sounds silly. And here's where we learn what the mount is going to be for this tribal quest. It is the Miw Miisv, and it's very great. It is a great mount. And the special ability is electrocution, so you can electrify your friends, and that's dope. So yeah, you're not just recreating the dead civilizations that Median found. You're literally creating new life, and it's kinda wild. N7000 questions how meaningful the existence of all the beings of Ultima Thule are, but Jammingway assures it that they can affect the Dynamis just as much as you and Jammingway can, so they have just as meaningful existence. And still, the Nibiruns are still just there kind of menacingly, and then we don't see them again till later, so we'll get back to them. That is it for this section of the deep dive. Next time, I'll be going over the next 2 rank up quests because their stories go hand in hand. The Dragons and the Omicrons. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Crab Jail.